My friends, people of God, open your hearts and incline your spirit, for we are not speaking today of just any birth, but of the birth, the moment when eternity pierced time, when the infinite became an infant, when the Creator entered his creation. It is the most radical, powerful, and glorious intervention in all of human history, the birth of the Messiah. Let the shofar of your heart awaken, for what we speak of is not a story in a book. It is a reality that split time in two, before him and after him. Consider for a moment the astonishing truth that lies at the heart of the Messiah's birth, this eternal mystery that defies human understanding. The infinite God, the one who spoke the universe into existence, the King who holds the stars in the palm of his hand, chose to step out of the splendor of heaven and become a vulnerable, fragile infant. He who commands the armies of heaven wrapped himself in cloth and lay in a manger, a feeding trough used for animals. This is no mere story for children. It is the profound reality that shakes the foundations of the cosmos. To fully grasp this, we must see beyond the surface. God did not simply appear on earth in full glory, surrounded by angels and thunder. No, he took on flesh, flesh that would hunger, thirst, weep, and suffer. The Word that was with God, that was God, became flesh and dwelt among us. This is the mystery of the Incarnation, God becoming man. Why would the Creator do such a thing? Why descend so low? It is because of a love so fierce, so relentless, that it breaks every boundary. It is a love that would rather humble itself than leave humanity lost and separated. He came to bridge the infinite gap between holiness and sin, heaven and earth, God and man. This was God stooping down to meet us in our brokenness, not waiting for us to climb up to him. Imagine the implications of this. The one who needs nothing, who has no beginning or end, willingly limited himself to time and space. The eternal stepped into temporal. The all-powerful became weak. The Almighty bore the limitations of humanity, even to the point of death. In this divine paradox lies our hope. The same God who formed you in your mother's womb now walks with you in every moment of your life. This act of incarnation reveals something else about God. It reveals his radical humility and his desire to be intimately close to us. He did not send an angel, nor a prophet, nor a redeemer from afar. He came himself. God came down to be Emmanuel, God with us. The Word became flesh, so we could truly know the heart of God, not as an abstract idea, but as a living, breathing reality. The mystery of the Incarnation tells us that God is not distant. He is not aloof or removed. He is near, close enough to touch, to feel, to suffer, to love. And because of this, every barrier is broken down. No matter your pain, your doubt, your fear, the same God who was born in a manger is with you. So when you look at the Nativity, do not merely see a baby. See the Creator's infinite love made manifest in human form. See the unfathomable humility that chose the manger over majesty. And know that this mystery of incarnation is still alive, still working, still inviting you into a relationship with the God who came to be with you forever. There is a divine rhythm to the unfolding of God's plan, a timing so perfect, so precise, that no human calendar could ever predict it. The birth of the Messiah did not come at a random moment, nor was it an accident of history. It came in the fullness of time, a phrase that carries with it the weight of heaven's orchestration. God's timing is not measured by watches or clocks, but by eternal wisdom and purpose. Think about the world at that moment. The people were weary, burdened by oppression and longing for hope. Centuries had passed since the last prophet spoke. The voices of God seemed silent, and the nations staggered under the weight of darkness. Yet, in that very darkness, the light was born, not a light that flickered briefly, but one destined to shine forever. The fullness of time means God waited for the exact moment when the hearts of humanity would be most prepared to receive him. He waited until the world was spiritually hungry, until the conditions were ripe for the greatest revelation of all. This waiting was not passive. It was active, deliberate, sovereign. God was working behind the scenes, empire rising and falling, prophets and kings passing, generations coming and going, all aligning to the moment when the Word would become flesh. This teaches us something vital for our own lives. Often we look at our circumstances and feel like God is delayed, like answers are late, or like prayers are unheard. But the birth of the Messiah reminds us that God's timing is never early, never late. He is always exactly on time. When you face seasons of waiting, remember this. God is not unaware of your pain or your prayers. He is preparing the way, arranging the pieces, and opening the doors at just the right moment. Just as the heavens waited for the appointed hour to send forth the Messiah, so your breakthrough will come in the appointed time. This divine timing is not about convenience or human impatience. It is about perfect alignment with God's eternal plan. It is a call to trust. Trust that what is coming will be better than anything you could have asked for or imagined. It is a call to remain faithful in the waiting, knowing that God's clock is ticking toward your greatest blessing. The birth of the Messiah is a testimony that God's promises never fail, and his timing is flawless. He is the God who says to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. So if you feel forgotten, overlooked, or left behind, look to Bethlehem and see that in the fullness of time God came down, and he will come down again in your life. Be patient, be hopeful, be ready. For when God's time arrives, it will shake your world and change your destiny forever. There is a profound lesson woven into the very fabric of the Messiah's birth, a lesson about humility that turns the world's understanding of power completely upside down. This king, the sovereign Lord of all creation, did not arrive with a royal procession, nor was he draped in fine robes or crowned with gold. No, he came as a helpless baby, born into poverty, laid in a manger where animals fed. His first cradle was a feeding trough, rough and simple, surrounded by the lowliest of creatures. This is the humility of the King, a humility that reveals the heart of God himself. The one who holds the universe in his hands chose to be powerless, vulnerable, dependent on others for even his most basic needs. He did not come to impress with earthly grandeur, but to win through meekness and love. Imagine the shock this must have been to the world then and now. A king who emptied himself of glory, who stepped down from his throne to live among the humble. This king's humility was not weakness. It was the greatest strength the world has ever known. Because it is through this humility that the pathway to salvation was opened. This king grew up in obscurity, unnoticed by the great and powerful. His family was simple, his village small and forgotten. He walked among common folk, ate common food, and lived a common life. Yet his humility was a bold declaration that greatness in God's kingdom is measured not by status or wealth, but by the willingness to serve and suffer for others. And what does this mean for us? The humility of the King calls us to a radical reorientation of our own lives. It calls us to lay down pride, ambition, and selfishness. It reminds us that true power is found in surrender, true honor is found in serving others, and true leadership is found in humility. The king who humbled himself to be born in a stable is the same king who would one day wash his disciples' feet, suffer on a cross, and rise again in victory. He shows us that the road to glory passes through humility and sacrifice. So when you think about your own life, the challenges, the temptations to pride or bitterness, remember the King of humility. Let his example humble your heart, soften your spirit, and ignite in you a desire to walk in the way of the cross. Because the King who was born in the manger is calling you to be a servant, leader in your own life, to bring his love and humility into every relationship, every place of influence, every moment you live. The humility of the King is not just a lesson from history. It is the power to transform your life today. The birth of the Messiah was not a quiet, gentle whisper that slipped unnoticed into the night. No, it was a cosmic disruption, a heavenly eruption that shook the spiritual realm and echoed through the corridors of history. When the Christ child was born, the very fabric of heaven and earth trembled, and the forces of darkness recoiled in fear. Consider the scene, angels blazing like fire, filling the night sky with glory, singing praises that pierced the silence. The shepherds, ordinary men tending their flocks in the fields, were suddenly thrust into the center of God's divine drama. They left their sheep behind, their lives forever changed, because heaven itself had broken into earth's realm. The arrival of the Messiah was a supernatural event that demanded a response, but it didn't stop there. The wise men from the east, guided by a mysterious star, journeyed across deserts and kingdoms, drawn by a divine magnetism to this newborn king. Their arrival was a sign that the birth of the Messiah was not just for Israel, but for all nations. The heavens were declaring a new era, one that would overturn kingdoms, challenge powers, and rewrite the course of history. And Herod, the ruler of the land, was shaken to his core. He saw the birth of the Messiah as a threat to his throne. The king of the earth feared the king of heaven. This disruption stirred political unrest, fear, and violent plots. The birth of the Messiah was a challenge to every worldly power. It was a declaration that a new kingdom had come, one not of this world. This birth did not come to merely decorate history with a sentimental story. It came to disrupt, to overthrow, to transform. The very forces of darkness trembled because the light had entered the world. What does this mean for us today? When the Messiah enters our life, he does not come as a passive visitor. He comes as a revolutionary power, breaking chains, dismantling strongholds, and shaking the foundations of complacency. If his birth caused disruption in the heavens and on the earth, then his presence in your life will not leave things the same. The birth of the Messiah calls us out of passivity and into action. It demands that we respond, not with lukewarm faith, but with fervent hearts ready to embrace transformation. The light that pierced the darkness at Bethlehem is the same light that can dispel the shadows in your heart, your family, your community. So do not shrink back when God moves. Do not resist when the heavens disrupt your comfortable patterns. The disruption of heaven is the sound of new life breaking through the old, a divine upheaval that births hope, healing, and victory. Remember, the birth of the Messiah is not just history. It is a present power, shaking the heavens and the earth still. The birth of the Messiah is not merely an event to be remembered or a story to be told. It is a call, a summons that reaches across the centuries directly to your heart. It is not enough to gaze upon the manger and feel moved by the innocence of a child. The true power of the Messiah's birth lies not just in his arrival, but in the transformation he invites. This birth is a declaration that heaven has broken into earth, that the divine has intersected the human, and with it comes a profound invitation to be born anew. The babe wrapped in swaddling clothes is a symbol, not only of humility and hope, but of the new beginning that God desires for every soul. His birth demands a response, a turning point from darkness to light, from death to life. You see, the baby in Bethlehem did not remain in the manger. He grew into the Lamb who takes away the sin of the world. The tiny infant grew to become the Savior, the Redeemer, the King who offers new life. And his birth calls us to more than nostalgia or sentiment. It calls us to surrender, to repentance, to rebirth. This is the call to receive him not just as a baby, but as Lord, to open the door of your heart and invite the one who entered time and space to enter your life, to reign as King. His birth is a doorway into a new covenant, a life marked by grace, power, and hope. But the call of the birth is also a call to courage, to let go of old ways, to leave behind the past, to rise up from the ashes of failure and despair. Just as the shepherds left their flocks to follow the star, just as the mage, I journeyed far and endured hardship to worship, so too must we respond with boldness and faith. The birth of the Messiah is the beginning of the greatest rescue mission in history, the rescue of your soul, your family, your nation. It is God's invitation to come alive, to be awakened to your purpose, to live fully in the light of His glory. Will you answer the call? Will you allow the one who was born in a stable to be born in your heart today? Will you embrace the new life that His birth offers and step into the destiny prepared for you? Do not settle for the birth story alone. Let the birth of the Messiah become the birth of your faith, your hope, your joy. For the one who came to earth in humility calls you now, calls you to be born again, to walk in newness of life, and to shine as a light in the darkness. This is the call of the birth. Will you answer, Beloved, the Messiah was born not just to live, but that you might live. He was wrapped in swaddling clothes, so you could be clothed in righteousness. He entered a manger, so you could enter heaven. He was born among beasts, so you could be reborn as sons and daughters of the Most High. So rise up, people of God. Let His birth become your turning point. Let this day be the day Messiah is born anew in you. The mystery is no longer hidden. The veil is torn. The light has come. The Messiah is born. Let your soul arise and receive Him. Amen.